I had been planning my 18th birthday for weeks, convinced this time would be different. My last 2 birthdays had been quiet, just me and my sister sulking over cake that no one seemed to care about. But this year, I wanted something big, something to prove that I mattered, that my life wasn't just about cleaning up everyone else's messes. So I set up a barbecue at the lake. I invited 30 friends, my whole social circle, and even told my mom I'd cover most of the costs. I was going all out, convinced that this birthday would be the one to make up for all the ones before. I imagined a day of laughter, music, and fun in the sun. I thought maybe my family would finally notice how hard I was trying to step out from under their shadows. But 2 days before, everything came crashing down. My sister, who'd been planning a spa retreat weekend with her friends, lost her reservation. Of course, she went off, crying, yelling about how emotionally drained she was and how she couldn't handle being around people. My mom immediately fell in line, like she always did, offering her endless sympathy. And my dad? He didn't even hesitate. "You'll have more birthdays," he said. "She needs peace right now." I stood there, hearing the words but not believing them. More birthdays? My birthday was 2 days away, and I had been planning for months, doing everything I could to make it special. But suddenly, it was like I didn't matter at all. So I canceled the party. I told everyone I was sick. The truth stayed buried. I wasn't going to explain. The more I thought about it, the clearer it became. Something had to change. The morning of my birthday, I woke up to silence. No cake, no happy birthday, no text, no note, not even a passing comment. My mom had already left for a showing. My dad was in the garage doing God knows what. My sister was on the couch, wrapped in a blanket like she'd survived a natural disaster. I walked past her to grab coffee. She didn't even look up. That was it. That was my 18th birthday. I went back to my room, shut the door, and stared at the pile of folded clothes on my bed. I'd packed them the night before, just in case I woke up and still felt this way. I did. I picked up my phone and called the only adult I trusted, Coach Mason. He was my gym boss and had been my PE coach since freshman year. I didn't even explain much, just said, "Coach, I know this is weird, but could I maybe crash at your place for a while?" There was no pause. He just said, "Absolutely. Come tonight. I'll talk to Jenna. We got you." Quick note, before listening, share which city or country you're watching from. That was all I needed. I grabbed the first box and started loading it into my trunk. Nothing dramatic. I didn't slam any doors or cry in the driveway. I just moved like I was packing for college early. That first trip out, nobody noticed. No one even asked where I was going. After that, I kept it quiet. 1 box a day. Some clothes, a few books, little things from my nightstand. I'd drive over to Coach Mason's after school, unload, eat dinner with them like I belonged, and then head back home like nothing was going on. Meanwhile, I picked up 2 extra shifts at the gym. Told Coach I'd work nights, weekends, whatever he needed. He knew something was up, but he didn't push. Just handed me keys to the house and said, "You've got a room here now." At school, I pulled my counselor aside between classes, sat in that tiny office with the posters about emotional health and said, "Look, I'm not technically homeless, but I'm not staying at home either." She blinked a few times, then nodded like she got it. She helped me adjust my schedule so I could work more and still finish strong. Told me to check in if anything changed. It was the first time a teacher or staff member didn't talk down to me or make it about my parents. At home, I kept my head down. My mom barely noticed I wasn't eating dinner with them. My dad had his nose in whatever project he was pretending was important. And my sister? She stayed glued to her shows, posting filtered selfies with captions like, "Healing isn't linear," while I carried my life out the front door, piece by piece. By the 6th day, all I had left was my laptop, a couple hoodies, and my gym bag. I waited until everyone was out. Mom at an open house, Dad doing a supply run, my sister at yoga or brunch or wherever she was recharging that day. I walked into my room one last time, took a quick look around. Nothing in there belonged to me anymore. I scribbled a note, just a few lines. No emotion, no explanation. Just, "I'm gone. Don't call. Don't come find me. I'm done." I folded it and left it on the bed. Dropped my house key on the kitchen counter next to a pile of unopened mail. Then I walked out the front door, got in my car, and didn't look back. Not once. Coach Mason's place was calm, predictable. I woke up every morning to the sound of real people making coffee and asking each other about their day. No drama. No walking on eggshells. Meanwhile, my old house went to hell, fast. It started with late bill notices. Coach's wife, Jenna, worked part-time at the bank, and one night she came home and said, Your mom's mortgage payment bounced. Twice. I didn't say anything, just nodded and kept washing the dishes. But inside, I felt it. The unraveling had started. A week later, I heard mom lost a listing because she didn't show up for the walkthrough. Left a couple standing outside a locked house in the rain. Word got around. Small town, real estate gossip travels faster than the actual market. Then my sister's grades started free-falling. Her new tutor quit after 2 sessions, said she wasn't receptive. Translation: she was being her usual manipulative self and thought charm would carry her again. Without me feeding her flashcards or doing her online tests, she tanked. Midterms hit, and she turned in blank papers and blamed it on anxiety flare-ups. Classic. Then came the big one. I was at the gym, wiping down equipment after a shift, when Jenna walked in holding her phone like it was radioactive. She didn't even sit down, just said, "There's something you should know." She showed me the news article. Local teen charged with shoplifting high-end boutique items. Her name was in the second paragraph. Clear as day. Lip glosses, perfume, gold-plated bracelets, totaling over $900. It wasn't even survival stuff. It was straight-up dumb greed. I didn't say anything at first, just stared at the screen and felt that bitter twist in my stomach again. The same one I'd felt every time she got away with something and I had to be the one to clean it up. "You okay?" Jenna asked quietly. "Yeah," I said, just waiting for the next shoe to drop. And sure enough, it did. A few days later, Coach pulled me aside in the garage. "You need to hear this from someone who's not gonna sugarcoat it." He handed me a folder. It was printouts, credit card statements, bank reports. He'd asked a buddy in collections to look into my parents' accounts, because apparently Jenna had heard rumors at the bank. Turns out, my sister had been using mom and dad's cards for years, ordering crap online, paying for weekend trips, sending cash to her influencer friends. She'd even set up her own Venmo scams, cycling money through fake services. Over 30 grand in debt, all behind their backs. Quick note, while you're listening, tell us which country you're watching from. They hadn't noticed because the bills got auto-paid, or she intercepted the mail. Every time they asked questions, she'd lie and cry until they gave up. And me? I was the one who used to balance mom's checkbook. I was the one who double-checked statements and pointed out weird charges. With me gone, there was no one watching the books, and no one babysitting my sister's mess. Coach looked me dead in the eye and said, "They weren't just depending on you, they were surviving off you." That hit harder than I expected, because deep down I already knew. I had always been the one holding the system together. The quiet one, the fixer, the built-in therapist, tutor, tech support, and accountant. Now I was gone. The house got chaotic. Mail piled up. Laundry went unwashed. Dishes sat in the sink for days. My mom posted weird, vague updates on Facebook like, "Taking space to recharge. Please respect our privacy." My dad picked up random contracting jobs just to cover utilities. But nothing covered the fallout from my sister's arrest. The boutique pressed charges. She got probation and mandatory community service. The headlines stayed up for weeks, shared on all the neighborhood pages. People started talking, "What happened to that perfect family? Wasn't their older daughter the smart one?" But she was done saving everyone. I didn't realize how tense I'd been living until I spent 2 weeks in a house that actually functioned. At Coach Mason's place, they didn't yell over each other. They didn't throw guilt like confetti. They passed the salt, asked about each other's day, cleaned up dinner as a team. Nobody was storming off mid-conversation or slamming bedroom doors over imaginary slights. It was peaceful, and at first that felt weird, like I'd snuck into someone else's family by accident and was waiting to be kicked out. But they made it clear I wasn't temporary. Coach would check in after work. "How'd your quiz go?" Jenna kept baking these little banana muffins she said were study fuel. Their daughter Emily invited me to join her trivia group at the diner every Thursday. It was basic stuff, small, but nobody had ever done that for me before. At school, things picked up fast. Without my sister's drama sucking the air out of every room, I had time to actually focus. My grades jumped. Teachers started noticing. One even asked if I'd considered applying to schools out of state. Then Coach promoted me to assistant manager at the gym. Said I had quiet authority and that people respected me. I nearly choked when he said that. Respect was not a word I'd grown up hearing pointed in my direction. For once, I wasn't the ghost in the background. I wasn't the sibling who kept things running so someone else could shine. I had my own name, my own space, my own life. And that's exactly when the voicemail started. Quick reminder, before we go on, how's your day going and where are you joining from? The first one came from Mom. Soft voice, fake calm. "Hi, honey. Just wondering how you're doing. Things are a little rough right now. We'd love to talk and maybe find a way to reconnect as a family." I didn't answer. Then Dad left one. "Hey kiddo, we know you're upset, but your mom's struggling. Your sister's had a hard time. We need to heal together." They always used that word, heal, like I was the wound. Another message. "We're not mad. We miss you. Come home. Help us get back to normal." They wanted the human glue back, the built-in crisis manager. But not one message included the word, sorry. Not a single one said, "We were wrong. We failed you." Just vague talk about moving forward and working through things. Like I hadn't already done enough damn work. I'd replay the voicemails sometimes, late at night, just to remind myself why I left. Every single one tiptoed around the truth. They talked about misunderstandings, not choices. They never once owned the fact that they canceled my 18th birthday to coddle my sister's meltdown. Coach saw me listening to one once out in the backyard. "You thinking of calling back?" he asked. "Nope," I said. "Just taking inventory." He nodded, didn't press, just tossed me a soda and said, "Your life now, your terms." And that stuck with me. This new life, it was mine. Earned, not handed over. No manipulation, no guilt, just people who showed up and meant it. The old house could keep calling. I wasn't answering. It started with whispers. A couple of parents at school events asked Coach Mason's wife, Jenna, if the rumors were true. Did her family really cancel her birthday because her sister had a bad spa weekend? She didn't say much. Just gave them that tight, polite smile and changed the subject. But people talk. And in a town like ours, they don't stop. It didn't take long before the full story made the rounds. Not the cleaned-up version my parents tried to spin, but the real one. How I planned my own 18th birthday party, paid for most of it, and got shut down 2 days before because my sister needed peace. How I canceled it alone. How I disappeared without warning. Suddenly, people started asking why. A couple of my teachers pulled me aside to say they were proud of how I handled things. One of them said, "We always wondered why you seemed so exhausted." Another just nodded and said, "Good for you." Meanwhile, over at my parents' place, things were tanking hard. My mom lost 3 listings in 2 weeks. Clients backed out after reading her vague posts online. One couple said they didn't feel comfortable trusting someone who couldn't manage her own household. Another client flat out told the office manager, "If she treats her kid like that, what's she gonna do with our closing papers?" Her reputation, flawless for years, started to crack. My dad wasn't doing any better. His remodeling jobs dried up fast. People in town heard about the birthday thing, the shoplifting, the credit card debt, and suddenly he wasn't Mr. Reliable Contractor anymore. He was the guy whose daughter got arrested and whose other kid ran away. Quick break. While you're listening, tell us which country you're watching from. Then came the school fallout. My sister flunked out of her program. Apparently, she'd been paying random classmates to take her tests and do her homework. Got caught when she submitted a paper that was literally copied from a website, with another student's name still in the header. They gave her one chance to explain. She said it was a cry for help. They didn't buy it. She was done. By that point, the neighborhood was done too. No more invites to the wine nights or holiday cookie swaps. Nobody wanted to associate with them anymore. Not when they were the hot mess family getting dragged across Facebook threads and PDA gossip chains. So they started downsizing. First, they sold the boat. My dad always called it his escape pod. Gone in a week. Then they listed one of their cars, Mom's leased SUV, traded it for some older sedan. Flashy was out. Survival was in. And me? I just kept stacking wins. At school, I got recognized at the Senior Awards Assembly for academic growth and leadership. I gave a little speech. Coach Mason stood in the back, grinning like a proud dad. My parents weren't there. Not invited. At the gym, I led my first full team training. Nailed it. Got a bonus. Even little stuff felt like wins. Buying my own groceries, getting through the week without a meltdown, sleeping through the night without waking up to someone yelling in the hallway. Across town, their world was collapsing in real time. Mine was finally opening up. People started saying it out loud. She was never the problem. She kept that whole family functioning. No wonder she left. And I didn't argue. I just kept showing up, kept putting in the work, kept living my life. Because while they were trying to scrub the smoke off the walls, I'd already walked out of the fire. Just when I thought they couldn't sink any lower, my sister grabbed a shovel and started digging. It was about a year and a half after I left. I was deep into college courses, still living with the Masons, still working at the gym. Life was solid, predictable, quiet. Then one Sunday afternoon, Jenna handed me her phone. "You're gonna want to see this," she said, already making that face. Eyebrows raised, mouth tight. It was a screenshot of a Facebook post from my cousin's wife. Nothing dramatic, just a long-ass vent thread buried in her feed, but I caught the keywords right away. Crypto, scam, $40,000, and my sister's name. I just stared at it. What the hell did she do now? Turns out, my genius sister had wired 40 grand, every dime of my parents' savings and emergency fund, to some guy she met in a Telegram group. She called him Nico, said he was launching a new coin, promised double returns, some mix of Bitcoin, NFTs, and emotional manipulation. Classic. She never met him in real life, never even saw his face, just a profile picture, voice memos, and a bunch of graphs he sent her to prove it was legit. She emptied the joint account without asking, told my parents after the transfer had cleared, and that wasn't even the worst of it. She'd also taken out loans in their names, 2 personal loans, one from a credit union and one from some sketchy online lender. She maxed out 3 of their credit cards, said it was for school expenses and mental health tools. In reality, it was skincare subscriptions, $90 candles, and probably more crypto trash. Oh, and she crashed the car. Not just any car either. The one she'd talked my dad into financing for her graduation. Totaled it during a Starbucks run. Didn't have insurance. Quick pause. Would you trust your sibling with your bank account? Be honest. Drop your answer and your city in the comments. They had no choice. With all the debt, the car, the crypto mess, and no money left to cover bills, they filed for bankruptcy. Chapter 7. The house? Gone. The business? Shut down. My mom's license got flagged for financial mismanagement, so she couldn't legally sell homes for a while. My dad, he swallowed his pride and started picking up drywall work for the same guys he used to boss around. They ended up in a 2-bedroom apartment above a vape shop just off the freeway. The complex had broken porch lights, dumpsters that overflowed every weekend, and cops rolling through on Friday nights like clockwork. And my sister? She moved back in with them. No job, no school, no plan. Just emotional outbursts, messy bun rants, and all-day bubble baths like she was still a princess on recovery mode. Jenna called it poetic justice. Coach just said, saw it coming. Me? I didn't feel bad. Not even a little. I'd spent years patching holes they pretended didn't exist. They had every chance to change, to see her clearly, to choose differently, but they never did. They kept betting on her and ignoring the bill I was paying for it. Now the debt was in their name, literally. I didn't hear it directly from them, of course. My parents were too proud. But I kept tabs. Jenna's cousins knew someone at the courthouse, and my old classmate worked at the outlet mall, where my mom now folded discount sweaters for minimum wage. I heard she cried in the break room a lot. My dad stopped using his real name for work, started just going by Rick instead of Rich, tried to avoid old clients. Too many of them knew the full story by now, thanks to my sister's arrest, her school scandal, and the magic of social media receipts. Their reputation wasn't just damaged, it was obliterated. And the wildest part? Not one person from their side ever reached out to take responsibility. They kept hoping I'd reach in and fix things again. That I'd be the same girl who canceled her birthday, took the blame, picked up the pieces. But that girl was long gone. I'd buried her the day I dropped that house key on the counter. It was the middle of finals week, and I was buried in flashcards at the kitchen table when my phone buzzed with an unknown number. I stared at it. Normally, I don't answer. If your name's not saved, you're not getting through. But something in me said, pick up. So I did. Hello. Silence for a second. Then I heard it. Hey, it's Dad. My whole body locked up. He never called me, ever. And this wasn't his number. I'm using your uncle's phone, he said quickly, like he knew I was about to hang up. My line's been cut off. I didn't say anything. His voice cracked a little. Not like he was crying. More like he'd been running on empty for a while and finally hit zero. We lost everything, he said. The house, the business, it's all gone. And I know it's too late, but we know we failed you. That last part hit different. I'd waited years to hear it. Didn't expect it to come wrapped in bankruptcy and rock bottom. But still, there it was. We don't need money, he added. We need advice, guidance. I don't know how to fix this. Then I heard a shuffle and my mom's voice in the background. She was crying before she even spoke. I'm so sorry, she said. We kept telling people how great you were doing. Told them we still talked, but we lied. We were proud, just too ashamed to admit we messed it all up. For the first time, there was no spin, no excuses, just regret. Still, I wasn't about to throw them a lifeline and pretend the ocean wasn't their fault. Quick break. If someone finally owned up after years of denial, would you hear them out? Drop your answer below. I took a breath. You want guidance? I said. Then listen carefully. Silence on the line. I pictured them sitting in that cramped apartment, surrounded by secondhand furniture and overdue bills, clutching someone else's phone like it was a life preserver. First, I said, my sister gets a job, a real one. I don't care if it's fast food or dog walking. She works. My dad exhaled slowly, like he already knew that was coming. Second, she gets into therapy. Not once, not for show. Ongoing, weekly, no excuses. Okay, my mom said, almost whispering. Third, this part matters. You own what you did, not just to me, to everyone. You mean, my dad started, but I cut him off. I mean public. I mean a post, a message, a conversation. I want people to stop looking at me like I abandoned a good family. I want the truth out. It was quiet for a beat. Then he said, we can do that. I didn't believe it yet, but hearing them agree without arguing told me one thing. They were desperate. You do all of that, I said, and maybe I'll talk to you once in a while, but I'm not your fixer. I'm not coming back to rescue anyone. I've got my own life now. And if you screw this up even once, I'm done for good. I meant every word. I had carried their weight long enough. Understood, my dad said. I'll start drafting something tonight, my mom added, her voice still shaky. I didn't promise anything. Didn't say I forgive you. I just hung up, turned my phone off, and went back to my flashcards. Because while they were trying to survive the collapse, I was still climbing. 2 days after that call, I texted my dad from a burner number I'd set up through an app. No contact photo, no name, just a message. Here are the rules. If you want me in your life at all, you follow them to the letter. No shortcuts. First, my sister gets a job and goes to therapy. Not one or the other, both. And not for a week or two just to say she tried. Ongoing, documented. If she quits either one, I'm out. Second, they acknowledge the truth publicly. Not a vague, we've had a rough year post. I wanted it in writing, clear and direct. They treated me unfairly. I left for a reason. It wasn't drama. It was survival. Third, I'm not the solution. I wasn't moving back. I wasn't co-signing loans or babysitting anyone's mental health. They could talk to me, maybe, but they had to stop treating me like the missing gear in a broken machine. I stared at the screen before hitting send. My hands didn't shake. I wasn't nervous. I just didn't care what happened next unless it was exactly what I asked for. Less than 10 minutes later, I got a response. Understood. We'll follow everything exactly. Then another one from my mom's email. Thank you for giving us this chance. We won't mess it up. I didn't believe them. Not yet, but I knew desperation when I saw it. Quick check-in. If your family begged for a second chance, would you give it or block them on the spot? Let me know where you stand. I called them that evening from the burner. One short call. I didn't want their voices to twist things. Here's the deal, I said. One screw up, just one, and I'm gone. Permanently. No third chances. My dad said, we hear you. We're not taking this lightly. My mom, in the background, added, we're already making the post. Your sister's looking at job listings. I didn't thank them. I didn't tell them I was proud of them. That wasn't the point. This wasn't about rebuilding a happy family. This was contract-level terms. Boundaries they never respected before. And now they'd finally hit the wall. They had to work their way back to neutral. Not love, not forgiveness, just basic human decency. I didn't owe them warmth. I didn't owe them softness. All I gave them was a line in the sand and a final warning. You screw me over again, and I'll disappear so hard you won't even know what coast I'm on. I said it like I meant it because I did. They agreed to everything without hesitation. That's what desperation does to people. It wipes out pride, flattens egos. They used to act like I was overreacting, like I was cold, like I abandoned them. Now they were begging for access, but I held the keys, and I wasn't about to hand them back just because they finally realized they needed them. They actually did it, not perfectly, not fast, but within a month, the terms I laid down started showing up in real life. First, my dad got my sister into therapy. Real therapy this time, not a life coach or some online journaling app. A licensed woman named Dana who didn't put up with any of her dramatic. I know because my sister texted me after her first session complaining that this lady's like a drill sergeant with a master's degree. Then he dragged her down to the burger place near their apartment. She didn't want to go in. She stood on the sidewalk pouting until he said, if you don't go in, she'll never speak to us again. She went in. 2 days later, she was behind the counter in a greasy red visor, learning how to mop floors and count change. I almost didn't believe it when someone from high school DM'd me a picture of her wiping down trays. Then Mom posted the letter. She wrote it herself, probably rewrote it 5 times, and posted it to the local community Facebook group. Started with, I want to publicly acknowledge how unfairly we treated our oldest daughter. No sugarcoating, no blame shifting, just admission that we failed to see her, that we put too much on her, that her leaving was justified, that we owe her more than an apology. But we're starting there. I read it twice, 3 times, sent it to Coach Mason and Jenna. Jenna said, "Damn, didn't think she had that in her." Coach said, "Let's see if it sticks." People in town started talking less. Not completely silent, but quieter. The judgment dulled. Some of the same women who used to give me pity looks at the grocery store now avoided my mom's aisle instead. It was working, on paper. But I wasn't about to walk back into the chaos just because they followed instructions. I visited once. Quick reminder, have you ever tested someone's apology to see if they'd actually changed? Let me know in the comments. I didn't tell them I was coming. Just showed up on a Saturday afternoon, stayed for maybe an hour. The place looked cleaner than I expected. Dad had fixed a cabinet door. Mom had bought dollar store throw pillows. It smelled like reheated frozen lasagna and lemon disinfectant. My sister sat on the couch in her work uniform, scrolling her phone. When she finally noticed me, she said, "You look different." I said, "I am." She rolled her eyes. "Dana says I need to forgive myself." That was my cue. I stood up, grabbed my keys, and walked toward the door. My mom started to say something. "Don't go yet, we haven't." But I was already gone. They were trying. I'll give them that. But now they were living in the wreckage they built, and this time I wasn't the one picking up the pieces. I didn't feel guilty for leaving early. I didn't feel sad walking away. What I felt was clean, like I wasn't carrying their shame anymore. They still had each other, the debt, the therapy bills, the broken trust, and now the responsibility to fix it themselves. And me? I had my peace. A few months later, I walked across a stage in a cheap blue gown and got handed a diploma I earned every damn inch of. I graduated early. No debt. No strings, no family name padding my application, just hard work, late nights, and the Mason family making sure I ate dinner every once in a while. The same week I got my job offer, full-time, solid pay, health insurance and all. I came home to find balloons taped to the front door. Coach Mason stood there with a grill spatula in one hand and a party hat on like it was the most normal thing in the world. Inside, Jenna had made a cake. Vanilla with buttercream, my favorite. Emily brought her friends, the ones who used to joke that I was the quiet one, until I started beating all of them in trivia. There was real food, real laughs, real pride. Not once did I feel like a burden. After we ate, Coach raised a glass of ginger ale and said, "To the strongest damn woman I've ever met. And to Dallas, y'all better get ready." That part made me cry. Not loud, not messy, just enough to know it hit deep. 2 days later, I got a card in the mail. No return address, but I recognized the handwriting. Inside was a folded piece of paper with 3 lines. "We're proud of you. We're sorry. We hope you keep thriving. Mom and Dad." No money, no phone number, just a note like they finally understood they didn't get access anymore. And they were right. I didn't invite them to the party, didn't send them photos, didn't give them my new address. Whatever piece of me they used to feel entitled to, that part was gone. They lost the right to call themselves my support system the day they canceled my 18th birthday for a damn spa meltdown. You don't get to pretend you were always there after spending years looking through me. You don't get a front row seat at my finish line when you never showed up for the race. Letting go of them wasn't easy, but it was necessary. And watching their little empire crumble without me there to hold it up, that was the best gift I never got.